Mark Andrews breaks his silence for the first time this offseason, and he's got some interesting things to say. We also hear directly from Jalen Milroe that he's faster than Lamar Jackson. We're talking all that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim there where the sense can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. So finally, we hear from Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews obviously had a great season last season, went out with a really bad game in Buffalo, and dodged the reporters, ran out of the locker room, did not speak to anyone. We haven't heard from him this offseason. There's been a lot of trade speculation. He finally speaks. And he spoke to ESPN reporters during a promotional tour for Dexcom U, a NIL program exclusively for college athletes with diabetes. He was asked about all the trade talks. He said, at the end of the day, I think DeCosta said it perfectly. He's in the business of keeping great players, and it's a business at the end of the day. You can't be surprised by anything, but I'm a Raven. He said, I know the Ravens and my relationship is incredibly strong, and I trust in DeCosta and everybody there over at the Ravens, and there's nothing on my end really to share. For me, it's just been working hard this offseason, trying to get in the best shape of my life, trying to have the best season of my life coming up and winning a Super Bowl. And then he talked about his gloves in that Buffalo game. He says that he noticed his gloves were soaked when they were going in the huddle for the two-point conversion. And he says, and I quote, I'm thinking, do I take it off? Do I not? It was so fast and so quick that it just happened. And at the end of the day, I still should have caught the ball. I still should have made that play. That's sports, man. Things happen. I know the type of player that I am, what I can do, and it is what it is. It was tough, wasn't the best game, and I'm looking forward to redemption. So I have a lot of takeaways from what Mark Andrews said. First of all, I'm glad he's speaking up. Obviously, it wasn't right after the game. Like, I wish he would have spoke up. You know, he's got that captain jersey on that we're starting to do now for the playoffs, and if you're wearing the captain jersey, you're one of the leaders of the team. I feel like he should have just stood there and took the heat. I get that he had an awful game in that Buffalo game, and I probably would not want to talk to any reporters either, but you got to. You know what I mean? You got to stand there in the fire, and it almost be inspiring for someone to have such a bad game and then sit there and be like, yeah, I messed up. I got to be better. Can't wait for next year. I'm going to get in the best shape. Things that he's saying now, but right after the Buffalo game. So I am glad that he finally spoke up. Wish he would have spoke up earlier, but it is what it is. Glad to be hearing from Mark Andrews, first of all. Second of all, it doesn't sound like he's going to be traded. According to him, who knows? You know, Eric DeCosta earlier in the offseason and John Harbaugh were saying that Mark's a Raven, Mark's not going anywhere. And then the last few times we've heard from Eric DeCosta, it's, well, Mark's had a great career here, and it's a business, and you never know. And, you know, getting a lot of unsure answers. There's been a lot of trade speculation just because the draft is coming up. I think the trade speculation quieted down tremendously when we paid him his $4 million roster bonus. If the Ravens, you know, really wanted to trade him, they would have traded him before that roster bonus kicked in. But it's not to say that they won't get an offer that blows them away on draft night or even a few days before, like the Hollywood one. You know, that was done before the draft, Eric DeCosta said. So a trade still could happen. It's not impossible that a trade would happen, but hearing directly from Mark, he says, I'm a Raven. I expect to be here. I expect to have a season of redemption. He expects to have his best season of his life. He's in the best shape of his life. And I'm sure he's using that game as motivation. I mean, Mark, he had a slow start last year coming off that injury, but Mark had 11 touchdowns and was really reliable throughout the regular season. You know, Isaiah Likely is as well. I know Isaiah Likely needs more playing time and is right on Mark's heels, but I still think that they're the best tight end room in football. You know, that's a great combo to have. Mark is an asset to this team. He's had some playoff struggles, no doubt, and that Buffalo game was his worst game that he's ever played. And he knows that. I think he's going to use that as fuel to come into this season. Now, the one thing that he said that I wish he wouldn't have said is about the gloves. I know that he dropped the ball. I just don't want to hear an excuse for it, you know? And he even said I should have caught it. I just wish he wouldn't have even talked about the wet gloves. You know, everyone's gloves are wet. The game was wet throughout the game. I know it did start to precipitate later in that game. And if you're looking at your gloves and they're soaking wet and you're like, shoot, man, I don't know if I can catch the ball, take them off and chuck them on the field then. You know what I mean? Like, there should be no excuse, especially when you know the ball might be coming your way, which I know he did. So that kind of hurt to hear, like, oh, my gloves are wet. What should I do? I'm going to just keep them on. And then, oh, ball's right here. Can't catch it, though. Gloves are wet. Like, dang, man. Like, you know, if you know that, just take them off. Or do everything you can to make sure that you can catch the ball. Really try to body catch it or something, you know? Like, it was just frustrating to hear him say that. So I kind of wish he would have maybe not gave us the honest details, but I respect the honesty. I respect the transparency. It just stings a little bit, man, and, you know, doesn't make him look the best when he's like, oh, my gloves were wet. And I realized it while I was in the huddle, and I was like, what do I do? But I didn't end up doing anything, and then I dropped the ball. Like, that sucks, man. And he got the ball punched out a few drives before that, which was a costly fumble on a drive that we were driving. It would have been an entirely different game. So we all know what happened. Very, very bad game for Mark Andrews. I don't think that defines Mark Andrews' career, and I would not mind Mark Andrews back in a Ravens uniform to have that redemption season, to have a pissed off Mark Andrews locked in, knowing that this is probably his last season as a Baltimore Raven, unless the Ravens want to pay and extend him. But I think Isaiah Likely is probably the future number one tight end. Mark Andrews kind of in a last farewell type season with the team that drafted him, the team that he defined himself and had an incredible career with. Go out and have that redemption season. You know, there'd be no better way to go out than Mark Andrews has an incredible 2025, 2026, and the Baltimore Ravens are Super Bowl champions. I think that's a great story. Moving on to something that is not a great story is all this Jalen Milroe is faster than Lamar Jackson talk that I'm seeing buzz around the internet. And at first, it was just anonymous GMs and scouts and, you know, the whole nine about like this person thinks Milroe's faster than Lamar, whatever. I think a lot of that's for clicks. But then Jalen Milroe himself was on the Kay Adams show and was asked if he's faster than Lamar Jackson.
Are you faster than Lamar?
I agree.
You said what?
I agree.
You agree?
Listen, man, no disrespect to Jalen Milroe. I think he is an interesting prospect. He's an incredible athlete. He could have a very successful NFL career. He's not Lamar Jackson, and I stand on the hill of we have never seen Lamar Jackson run at full speed. We have never seen Lamar Jackson run at full speed. Maybe some Ravens have in practice. Maybe they did when he was younger. I'm telling you, in a game, we have not seen full speed Lamar Jackson. Every time that he is out in open field, he's either trying to cut to avoid a defender, and his acceleration you get a little taste of. And then when he's gone, and he doesn't even hit the Jets. And we've heard him mic'd up multiple times where he's like, I ain't even have to go hard. That Houston Texans game on Christmas Day comes to mind from last year where he kept it, hit the edge, wide open touchdown. He was not running full speed. He even said when he came back, like, I was jogging. I didn't have to give him it all. I didn't have to give it all. And I don't think he ever has. We don't know how truly fast Lamar Jackson is. Lamar Jackson never ran the 40-yard dash. He didn't want to do anything athletic to blur the lines of, am I a quarterback or not, which I respect. So we know Lamar Jackson is an all-time athlete. And maybe straight line speed is up for debate, I guess. Who knows? We don't really know. We can't answer that without them racing. I'm still going with Lamar, but I can tell you right now, Jalen Milroe does not have the sauce, the cutting, the acceleration, the awareness that Lamar Jackson has. Lamar Jackson will shake you out your shoes and go score. Like, I don't think Milroe's got that, and maybe Milroe has really, really good top-end speed. And I still think Lamar Jackson does too, and we just haven't seen it. But it was interesting that Jalen Milroe himself, and I know he's a competitor, he's confident, but That's a bold statement, man. I think Lamar is an all-time player. He's the greatest running quarterback we've ever seen. He's one of the greatest runners in football we've ever seen. If Lamar did play another position, he would thrive. He would thrive at running back or receiver. I'm telling you, he is an all-time athlete. He's just so good that he can play quarterback at a high level, so why not? So I definitely am on Lamar Jackson's side here of Jalen Milroe is not faster than Lamar Jackson. I don't really love these comparisons, and a lot of the running quarterbacks that come into the NFL now are all compared to Lamar Jackson, which is crazy because when Lamar Jackson was in the draft, they wanted him to switch positions, and now he has redefined the quarterback position so much that college athletes coming into the NFL now are compared to Lamar Jackson, and I don't think any of them are Lamar Jackson. This dude is one of one. But that's all I got today, guys. Heard from Mark Andrews, so I wanted to come on and talk about that. And then I just saw this Jalen Milroe stuff flying around, so I definitely wanted to talk about that a little bit as well and speak my mind. But let me know what you guys are thinking. Appreciate you, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The flock rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.